Greetings everyone! And this topic is about the social stratification of the Russian society. We need to analyze the social structure and the public values of different social groups, as well as it can help us to understand the social framework of political regime. You have already known that the process of institutionalization of democracy in Russia, which was started with perestroika, was rather complicated and controversial. Now we have got some fundamental results of it. You can see the main results of process of democratization in Russia. First of all, Russia has a new constitution. It based on the principle of separation of powers, and since that time we had regular elections. It was very much important because, as well as you know, the elections are the real true test for accountability in a democratic regime. I would like to say that at the present time Russian citizens have got a legal opportunity for institutionalization of group interests. There are some non-government organizations, professional group, fan clubs, public foundation, and a local community network. Now we are in the complicated process of creating a multi-party system in Russia. It's very much important for our future. It's important to research the democratic political reforms and civil society in contemporary Russia in the context of economic challenges which took place in the first year of independence of Russia. Do you know what I mean? First of all, appearance of private property, the privatization in 1992, free sales of land and distribution of a new management values in a post-Soviet society. Soviet society was mainly unipolar and paternalistic. The shock reforms at the beginnings of 1990s created precondition for transition to multipolar social system. I mean elite, low class and the middle class. The balance between this group probably is the main challenges for new system of public administration in Russia. I would like to draw your attention to the connection between democratization processes and changing of the Russian civil society structure. The process of democratization depends on growth of the middle class. By the way, the term civil society and middle class are rather new for our public policy and our political science discourse. We never used them for describing our society in the Soviet time because of Marxist ideology. We normally used terms proletariat, workers, peasants. The development of the middle class in Russia has three main stages. It started in 1970s when an economic situation in the Soviet Union was stable because of increasing oil price. At that time, many Soviet families has got possibility to buy their first TV sets, fridges and cars. All of these things were made in Soviet Union. Many people have higher education. The higher education was a great value in Soviet society. But human rights, international communication, freedom of speech, democratic values, all of these became more and more important for Soviet people. This was a new type of thinking, and it explained the support of perestroika from most of Soviet people, especially in the cities when the middle class was significant. The shock reforms, disintegration of Soviet Union and the global social economic crisis in 1990s in fact damaged all results of middle class development. People lost their money in the state bank system. They lost trust. Now middle class grows, but it doesn't dominate. It can explain the priorities in the list of criteria for middle class in Russia. The deal like that, for representative of the Russian middle class, values and self-identification are more important than a level of money. If we compare the Russian middle class with the Western, European or an American middle class, we will see that in Russia this social group is mainly poorer than the Western one. But once again, I would like to say that for Russian middle class, values and the self-identification are much more important. Except this, the Russian social composition is rather diverse. Owing to dynamic in the birth rates during the last century, the age structure of population varies in contemporary Russia. There are two periods marked by significant increase of birth rate in the 20th century. The first well-known baby boom occurred immediately after World War II. It was a change of trend that was largely unexpected. The second baby boom took place during the era of stagnation. At the slide, you can see two generations of baby boomers and some demographic peaks. The baby boom generation is technologically competent, well-educated, and has different expectations from those of previous generation. After that, at the beginning of the 1990s, demographic crisis has occurred. Nevertheless, population segments led to difficulties with collection of taxes and payment of decent pensions. The official substance level now is rather low. It could be called like extreme poverty. Still, the calculation of pension and government assistance are based on that information, and it's rather important for understanding of social dynamic of Russian society. In this slide, you can see a difference between salaries received in region and in Moscow and St. Petersburg. This means not only economic but also social and value emerging gap. Dissatisfaction among regions creates a negative impact of the cooperation process. The most vulnerable segment of the population are pensioners. The pension is rather small, it's about $300 a month, and irrespective of where they live. As you can see, there are few pensions among the representatives of the middle class in Russia. A retirement in Russia is often perceived as both a moral and financial tragedy. Because of this, pensioners tend to work as long as they could. This becomes a problem for a new generation of employers and provokes intergenerational conflicts. Considering social research results, we can conclude that majority of the population believed that our society organization is unfair. It's more than 60% of population. Injustice has become a part of daily routine. At the same time, the huge salaries for officials and the source of constant frustration for the ordinary people and popular term for the political discussion during the last 20 years. It can be illustrated on example an opposition leader Alexei Navalny. He would like to draw public attention to extreme rich villas, cars and watches of some officials, deputies, ministers and clergy. Public Opinion Foundation, which prepared this research, is rather loyal to public administration system. And in fact, the result from the opposition structure is much more worse. Here is, you can see probably the main question addressed to our government from the citizen. It is a painful paradox, the poverty in a land which is so rich in natural resource. Although people understand that proceeds of selling oil, gas and coal are distributed unfairly, by the way, it's about 72% of population, they still have greater faith in the state than in private organization. Despite all of the reforms, paternalism tradition in Russia persists strong. This bar chart shows the change size of the middle class in Russia from 2003 to 2015. In particular, it demonstrates that the middle class increased through the 2003 to 2008. This research was made by the Russian Academy of Science. and it demonstrates a stable growth, but it is an optimistic scenario. Some political researchers and oppositional deputies has an information that the middle class in Russia now is not more than 7%. I am absolutely sure that all depends on criteria.